Hey everyone, it's Rihanna and welcome back to another film review. Today I'm going to be talking about High Rise, which I recently just saw at the London Film Festival. The film was directed by Ben Wheatley and is based off the novel by J.G. Ballard. It follows the character of Dr. Robert Laing, who was recently just moved into a tower block of apartments called the High Rise. He's a very detached character who has moved there to escape a family tragedy. As Dr. Robert Laing starts to settle into the High Rise, we meet a cast of weird and wonderful characters and things start to turn chaotic and out of hand when the architect of the building hasn't fixed things properly, and they learn that there's a hierarchy within the building. This high-rise building is a strange location. We have the families living at the bottom and the architect of the building living at the top. There's a hierarchy within the high-rise. They have everything they need in this building: a swimming pool, a supermarket and a gym. It just feels like a place you cannot escape, and it's weird for Dr. Robert Laing to escape to a place with so many people. It just feels very claustrophobic and isolating because it just feels like a place that you cannot escape. High Rise had me intrigued from the start. It's a very simplistic story that goes in all sorts of different tangents and all sorts of different ways. It's completely bizarre. I expected the film to be weirder because I had heard that this film, you either get it or you don't, and that is the case, but I had expected High Rise to be a lot weirder than it was. But this film is kind of ingenious when it talks about modern society and what we might be like in the future. It's very hard to pinpoint a genre in High Rise. It's dystopian, but it has a retro flair, and it's futuristic, but it's also very now. It's a psychological thriller, but also has a lot of dark satirical comedy. There are so many things to High Rise when you get underneath the skin of this film, and I think it's kind of ingenious. And I love the way they executed the fact that this place was weird and mad and strange and something was not right in the High Rise. So Tom Hiddleston plays the main character, Dr. Robert Laing, and he's this very detached physiological professor, and he's a very kind of normal character compared to the rest of the people around him who are completely bizarre. But when he moves into the High Rise, he comes out of his shell and starts to get the madness disease from everyone else. And he did a really good job in this film. He was an easy character to follow, but I think his performance was overshadowed by that of Luke Evans' character, Richard Wilder, who was completely insane. He's this documentary filmmaker who wants to do a documentary on the High Rise and the hierarchy in the High Rise, and he was just completely mad and insane, and I just was so into his character in this film because he was super compelling. Everyone in the High Rise seems to have a secret or is completely mad, and that does not exclude Sienna Miller's character Charlotte, who knows everyone but no one knows the true her. And we also have Elisabeth Moss playing Richard's wife, Helen, who was also great in the film. Those two were great, but Luke Evans completely stood out as Richard Wilder in this film. Tom Hiddleston great, like Luke Evans fantastic in this film. We also have Jeremy Irons, who plays Mr. Royal, the architect of the building, who's very scared of the people that live below him because if anything goes wrong, they're gonna look at him. One of the main things I really liked about High Rise was the script. From the start of this film, I was completely hooked because it was compelling and intriguing, and I just really wanted to know how they got into this situation. It's a funny, dark, satirical kind of script, and I just really loved it. The fact that people have said that you either get this film or you don't is actually kind of funny because I do feel that way about this film. But the fact that my whole theatre was laughing when they were supposed to laugh was just awesome. It's great when people actually get that sort of comedy, and I just think the comedy in this film is really smart and suits the mood of the film really well. Although I love the bizarre characters, script and setting for High Rise, the one major downfall of this film, and it was a really big downfall, was the pacing and its inconsistency with strength throughout the film. The first half was so strong. I was so intrigued and compelled by this story. It had me, then it lost me, then it had me, and it lost me again. It was just very inconsistent within the film. The first half I found really strong, and then it lost me for a whole scene because the descent into madness of the High Rise and the out of control craziness, it's just too rushed in the film. I would have just loved it to build tension, and the fact that it's too rushed just completely broke the tension for me. This film isn't actually that long, and I give props to them for fitting so much content into the film. It just felt longer than it was. Although that was a negative of the film, I also have a few more positives. I love the direction in High Rise because there's this completely out of control, bizarre stuff going on. Ben Wheatley tackles it fantastically. I just love the way that he directs these actors, just because everything is super bizarre and there's so much going on, but he really knows how to control that in a space. And I also love the cinematography in High Rise. It just looks beautifully shot. Some of the shots are really interesting and has a different meaning to it. Like there's two different sides to Robert Laing's character in one of these shots, and it just looks really nice. And the fact that this film is kind of dystopian, futuristic with a retro flair, it had such a great score and soundtrack, which I really really enjoyed. And weirdly, this soundtrack is kind of joyful and upbeat against this really chaotic madhouse, and it's a complete contrast, but it works so well. The more I think about High Rise, the more I like it. Luke Evans was a definite standout performance. I would have liked Tom Hiddleston to be a bit better. He had his moments in the film where he was really, really good, but Luke Evans completely stole the show. The pacing issues I had with the film were a really big negative, just because I feel like the film had a lot more potential with its tension. It was a big downfall for me, but I loved everything else in High Rise. I love the bizarre, simplistic concept. I love the direction, the cinematography, and the hysterical satire comedy in the script. High Rise is not a perfect film. It definitely has its flaws, and it may be one of those films that you either get it or you don't get it. But for me, I really, really enjoyed High Rise, and I'm going to be giving it a win. So if you've seen High Rise, let me know what you thought of it down below in the comments. Did you love the bizarre wackiness of it? Let me know. If you guys like this review, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be bringing you lots more movie and TV reviews for you guys very, very soon. As always, all my social media links, including my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, are down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's all I have for you today. Bye!